How are we, GameLeapers? The videos just keep rolling, and in this episode you will see with your own eyes why Viktor is the most broken mid laner in the game. The Machine Herald has a 57% win rate in Diamond and above across all regions, and we're about to watch Knights, one of the top 3 mid laners in the world, drop 21 kills in Korean Challenger. I'm going to be walking you guys through Viktor's playstyle, abilities, build, runes and skill order while we sit back and marvel at the new look Machine Herald. At the end of this video you will have all the knowledge required to pop off on Viktor, so don't go anywhere because you will miss out. If you guys are loving the preseason as much as we are, then please drop a like on the video, subscribe and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our daily uploads. Also make sure to head on over to GameLeap.com. If you want to get the most out of Summoner's Rift, then don't look past our professionally made guides, courses and videos. Link in the description. Alright, let's get into it. Early game. The early laning phase for the new Viktor is so much better. You can actually trade with the enemy laner and bully those melee champions who find it tougher to deal with harass for the first few levels. The biggest driving force behind this early spike is Doran's Ring. Yes, it's that simple. You get 70 health, 15 ability power, and 2 passives, Focus and Drain. Focus gives your basic attacks an extra 5 physical damage against minions. Why is this good? Because you can last hit easier, and this is crucial on Viktor in the early game because of the changes Rito have made to his passive, Glorious Evolution. Hexcore no longer exists and has been replaced with Harvest. Viktor now upgrades his abilities by earning 100 Hex Fragments. He harvests 1 Hex Fragment from minion and monster kills, 5 from siege minions and super minions, and 25 from champion kills and assists. If you were to only CS, you can collect 100 Hex Fragments by 8 minutes, hypothetically, and this is why it's so important to place emphasis on last hitting as efficiently as possible, because not every game you're going to have 5 kills at 5 minutes. Minions are a reliable and consistent resource in terms of gold and experience, but hold even more value for Viktor because of these Hex Fragments. The second passive, Drain, from Doran's Ring, restores 6 mana on killing a minion. If your mana bar is full, it restores 3 health instead. This is why trading on Viktor early game is now essential. You have enough sustain through Doran's Ring and 2 health potions to fight for control of the lane, and you can play hyper aggressively into those weaker melee champions. In this game, Knight solo kills the Silas at level 3, purely down to this playstyle and the setup we'll get into shortly. Would this have been possible before the changes? Maybe with 4 or 5 items and level 16, yeah? For skill order, you want to be starting with your Q Siphon Power, followed by 2 points in your E Death Ray, and taking W Gravity Field at level 4. Starting Q at level 1 boasts a lot of advantages. The Shield, Active and Discharge make it almost impossible for any champion to outtrade you. It has a lower cooldown than Death Ray. Using this with auto attacks easily procs Phase Rush, and you can animation cancel the first part of your Q by right clicking on a target as soon as the projectile animation ends. After that, maxing Death Ray is a way to go for a multitude of reasons. It's our main source of damage, it offers excellent poke, and excellent wave clear, especially when augmented. For the early game, use your W as a defensive tool. If the enemy mid laner jumps onto you or has kill pressure, put down Gravity Field for safety. Using this too liberally leaves you vulnerable to ganks and an all-in from the enemy mid laner. Once you hit level 6 and skill Chaos Storm, you have more power in the 1v1 and more AoE for those early game skirmishes. You obviously want to use this in lane when you think you can kill the enemy mid laner, but it can also be used in coordination with your Gravity Field Slow and Stun, or if you just want to chunk your opponent out of lane. Better players are not going to walk into your W, nor stand under your Chaos Storm like it's an umbrella on a rainy day. So if we're going to be more proactive in lane, looking to trade and out-sustain our opponent, we have to synergize our runes with that playstyle, guys. Phase Rush is the perfect keystone for this playstyle, and there's a few reasons. It's easy to proc in the early game, it makes it easier to kite around short-range champions, and it gives us a better chance of dodging skill shots and CC. LeBlanc's Ethereal Chain, for example. In essence, it keeps us in a good fight for longer, meaning we can deal more damage, and a bad fight for less because we can sprint to safety. Mana Flow Band is our mana security blanket, if you will. When fully stacked, it ensures we don't run out of the blue stuff and also enhances Viktor's augmented Q because it scales off of mana. The new Transcendence is a must and obvious choice. The 10 ability haste you get at level 8 is the equivalent of 9% cooldown reduction, great for using our spells in lane and those mid and late game fights where we want to be using all of our abilities many times over. For the last slot, I would recommend Scorch over Gathering Storm, even though Knights in this game take Storm. Scorch boosts your early game far more than Storm, turning you into the lane bully we now want you to be. For your secondary tree, take Taste of Blood and Ravenous Hunger. I know they nerf Ravenous Hunger, but it is still functional and Taste of Blood is still too good. There's been a lot of noise about Presence of Mind and the changes there, but Mana Flow banned, and there isn't another good rune in that precision tree. Remember, Taste of Blood procs off your auto attacks as well as your abilities, and auto attacking is an important part of the early game for range mages, especially into short range mid laners. The minor runes take attack speed, adaptive force, and armor or magic resist depending on the matchup. Attack speed is a must for a trading playstyle. It also makes it easier to last hit minions, which again is one of our focal points. If you still play as if you're scaling for the late game, then you're playing suboptimally, guys, and Viktor will feel like the worst champion in League. Difference between the top Viktor players and the rest is how they play him. Stamp your authority on the game. Knights already has his augmented death rate 5 minutes into the game. It's also worth to point out that once you have one of your abilities augmented and items under your belt, it's easier to upgrade the rest because your wave clear and damage increases throughout the game. Another positive for the new Viktor is that your itemization is no longer determined by your hex core. That 1150 gold back timer we all aimed for has gone, and we can start to build the important components of our mythic and legendary items. And this leads me into early game items. Your first buy will ideally be Lost Chapter. Same AP as a Blasting Wand, good chunk of mana, 10 ability haste, and mana restoration when leveling up. This is 1300 gold, which is more expensive than what we aimed for in the past, but because Viktor's early game is stronger, it's more achievable. If you cannot accrue the 1300 gold by the time you hit the base, then buy any of the following items, ranked in order of importance: Amplifying Tone, Dark Seal, Boots of Speed, Sapphire Crystal. Once Lost Chapter is bought, your next two items will be Sorcerer's Shoes and a Blasting Wand, and the order totally depends on the team compositions and game state. If the enemy team is tankier or has lots of crowd control, then Sorcerer's Shoes is a wise pickup. If the enemy team is squishier and you trust yourself to stay safe during lane and team fights, then invest in a Blasting Wand. Up next, we want to buy our mythic Luden's Tempest, and this is an extra 1250 gold after we have the chapter and wand. Luden's is one of the main reasons why Viktor is so good right now, and here's why. The AP and mana are boosted from Lost Chapter, it gives you 10 magic penetration, it grants the same passive as the previous iteration of the item, Luden's Echo, it gives you 30% movement speed for 2 seconds when dealing damage with your abilities, this has a 10-second cooldown, and gives all other legendary items 5 magic penetration. The magic penetration enhances your damage by a ton, and the mythic passive is nuts. Once you've built your legendary items, you will have an extra 25 magic pen. The extra movement speed is also really good because it complements the bonus movement speed from your augmented Q and phase rush. If you're enjoying the red hot gameplay, remember to leave a like down below, guys. Now let's talk about the mid game and late game playstyle because both are the same. Later in a game, Viktor starts to really flourish and the buff to death rate becomes noticeable. Viktor clears minion waves like a knife cuts through butter, and this allows us to take the enemy tower if they are not in lane, or go for a roam if the opportunity presents itself. Viktor is great at poking champions trying to CS under turret, and unless the enemy jungler comes to help, you will force your opponent out of lane. When those skirmishes and teamfights around Rift Herald, Baron and Dragon break out, you want to try poke the enemy champions beforehand with your death ray. Your W Gravity Field is a great zoning tool and is very effective in choke points and narrow spaces. It slows down enemies and can sometimes lock up multiple champions if they become overzealous. You want to be using your ultimate on squishy enemy champions, but sometimes the risk is too great and you have to settle for the enemy frontline. This is fine, because Chaos Storm shreds through resistances because of the magic penetration from Luden's Tempest and your soon to be completed full build. So what are the next 4 items on Viktor? That's a great question, and I'm going to recommend a build order and add some other options you might want to consider at the end. Third item, Cosmic Drive. This is an all-around beast of a legendary. It offers 70 AP, 200 HP, and most importantly 30 ability haste, which is over 20% cooldown reduction. Having the chance to throw out multiple siphon powers, gravity fields and death rays during a teamfight is massive. The Spell Dance passive is also insane because of the movement speed you get after dealing damage with an ability. This stacks with the passive from Luden's Tempest, so you will be giga fast. Fourth item, Lichbane. The main attraction of the Bane is the passive Spellblade. After using an ability, your next basic attack within 10 seconds deals bonus damage. This can proc off your discharge basic attack and deals absurd damage. The item also gives a great amount of AP, 80, and 10% movement speed, which as we have established is a great stat on Viktor. Fifth item, Rabadon's Death Cap. How can anyone not love building the biggest ability power spike in League? At this stage, Viktor has all the utility he needs. Now it's about damage, damage, and more damage. If the game goes to 6 items and the enemy team has enough magic resistance to restrain you, then buy a void so you can unleash your full power. The magic penetration passive from Luden's Tempest, coupled with the 40% from Void Staff, means nothing will stand between you and victory. Other options: Demonic's Embrace, Zonya's Hourglass, Banshee's Veil, Rylo's Crystal Scepter. Guys, that's brought us to the end of the guide, and I hope this has been useful to all of you wanting to know why Viktor is top of the win rates, and to those of you who wanted a little more clarity on how to play him in the pre-season. As always, if you enjoyed the video and found it informative, please leave a like to help it get out there. Any questions or general thoughts, feel free to leave a comment down below, and don't close your browser without checking out our website GameLeap.com. If you are serious about maximizing your potential in Summoner's Rift, then look no further. One of the premier sites offering you instructive content to help you be the best. This has been Coach Eags. Until next time.